Trivia time. Who was the last NHL player to be suspended for using performance-enhancing drugs?
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of the Locked On NHL podcast, your daily podcast on the NHL. We are your team each and every day, and we are your first listen each and every day as well. We thank you for tuning into today's episode. On today's show, we'll talk about Aaron Ekblad getting a 20-game suspension. They didn't just throw the book at him. They threw the library and another library on top of it at Ekblad for that suspension. We'll also tell you the answer to our trivia question right off the top. Who was the last player to get a performance-enhancing drug suspension before Aaron Ekblad? We'll also talk about a nifty tilt between the Detroit Red Wings and the Ottawa Senators. The Sens in playoff positioning, trying to reinforce that. We'll talk about that game, as well as taking a look at the Columbus Blue Jackets continuing to strengthen their hold on a spot in the Eastern Conference playoffs. Do they have enough steam in the tank to make their way higher up the ladder? My name is Seth Toupal, joined today by JD Young of Locked On Sharks. And JD, before I give the answer, do you know who the last player that was suspended for performance-enhancing drugs was?
Aaron Ekblad.
Technically, yes. But the last player that was suspended before that was
Cam Fowler.
No, I'm kidding.
Yes.
It was.
No, we know the PEDs were suspended for using Cam Fowler, not Cam Fowler suspended for using PEDs.
Nate Schmidt of the Vegas Golden Knights received a 20-game suspension for performance-enhancing drugs. And obviously, this game is a shock. There was really no rumblings of this. Just boom, the NHL dropping the headlines at 5 o'clock Central Time. Florida Panthers top defenseman Aaron Ekblad was suspended 20 games for violating the terms of the NHL, the NHLPA performance-enhancing substance program. In the release from ESPN, the league's announcement included that per the collective bargaining agreement, the suspension came with a mandatory referral to the NHLPA program for substance abuse and behavioral health, where Ekblad will undergo evaluation and possible treatment. Now, Ekblad did release a statement. He said, "The news that I failed a random drug test was a shock. Ultimately, I made a mistake by taking something to help me recover from recent injuries without first checking with proper medical and team personnel. I've let my teammates, the Panthers organization, and our great fans down. For that, I am truly sorry. I've accepted responsibility for my mistake and will be fully prepared to return to my team when my suspension is over. I've learned a hard lesson and cannot wait to be back with my teammates." So let's talk first about this situation because, you know, you see these types of situations in different sports where an athlete is like, and even the ones where the athlete is like, I checked with medical personnel and they said that this was fine to take. And all of a sudden it red flags. So it's like, it's a tough one for Ekblad, but you know, obviously the biggest piece of this is that it was to try to recover from injury.
Well, I mean, that's half of being an athlete is recovering from some sort of injury or recovering from, you know, just recovery in general is part of it. But you, like you said, right, we see this all the time, especially in other sports where guys, they take a supplement, right, and you try to check and they all have like access to a list of, okay, these things are, you know, outlawed by your, you know, whatever organization you're in that you can't take. And, you know, I think it's pretty easy to accidentally take something. I don't think like I don't think it's like a Barry Bonds or Jose Canseco or Mark McGuire type of thing from Ekblad. Like that doesn't seem like an Aaron Ekblad type of maneuver. He's out there just like, I gotta get like 1,000-mile-an-hour slap shot, type of thing. I think he was just trying to take something, didn't get it checked or didn't get it thoroughly vetted, and then he got popped for it. So it is curious too with the timing of the Seth Jones trade, where the Panthers went out and got a puck moving offensive defenseman in Seth Jones, and Ekblad, who's also in the last year of his contract. You wonder if this could be the last run for Ekblad with the Panthers, but yeah, I'm not like trying to, I think it's pretty easy for athletes to accidentally take the wrong thing. So,
and the Panthers have 18 games left this regular season. So this is going to carry over into the postseason as well, which is unfortunate because it's not like he's a depth defenseman. Like he is,
yeah.
He's on the front end of that D-core for a Florida Panthers team that is also without Matthew Tkachuk, is trying to navigate that. But it's, it's going to be a big blow. But again, you look at these battle-tested Stanley Cup playoff teams. Obviously, the Panthers winning the Cup last year. And Paul Maurice has done a very good job of navigating adversity as head coach of this team. So it's just next man up.
Yeah, and for this Panthers team, right, they went out and they got a ton of reinforcements this trade deadline, right? You look like we mentioned with Seth Jones, you get Marchand, they try to add some goalie depth with Vitek Vanecek, who of course comes in and gets a shutout in his first game. I didn't know your goalies could get shutouts, Seth. Did you know this? I'm very unaware of this. But like, this might actually kind of be a little bit of a blessing in disguise for Ekblad, who's going to get, some time off here to kind of recoup. Maybe not using whatever he was using before, but kind of recoup and get ready for the playoffs. And then, you're going to have basically 5 weeks off and get to jump into the playoffs. And him and Tkachuk kind of coming in off a nice break. This might kind of be as a little bit of a blessing in disguise for them.
Yeah, I think that's the good spin to put on it, as it allows them to bring in some healthy reinforcements, because especially for the type of team that the Panthers are, these series are going to be bruising. They're going to be physical. They're going to be demanding. So being able to add key reinforcements after the series has already begun is going to definitely help them in terms of trying to repeat, but even to just get through some of these postseason series. You look at it right now, the standings, and as of right now, the Panthers are sitting to take on the Ottawa Senators in the first round of the playoffs. And you tell me that wouldn't be an intense Tkachuk versus Tkachuk? Are you kidding me?
That'd be fun.
Can we just bookmark that and just like save the place for the postseason so we can make sure that we get that matchup?
Yeah, Tkachuk. That would be ridiculous. We're gonna talk more Sens here in a little bit, but yeah, that would be spicy, especially those Ottawa fans who have been looking forward to a playoff series for, it's been a long time since they've got to experience playoff hockey. That'd be pretty fun. Mark me down for that one. That sounds like a great time. Time there. And the playoffs, the first round of the playoffs are going to be ridiculously fun. But I do, though, for Ekblad, like, you wonder if this does, with the suspension, right? You've seen a little bit of decline in his play. This guy has never been a guy who's been fully healthy, like can stay fully healthy for a long time. I do wonder what happens with him long term with the Panthers, who are going to have to make some financial decisions this offseason. Is this the last run with the Panthers, and he's, free agent? Thank you for everything you've done. Good luck elsewhere. I'm very curious to see kind of what his immediate future looks like.
Yeah, because if there's a GM that is not afraid to make big moves, and more importantly, to be willing to let a key piece go and replace from within or from elsewhere, it's Bill Zito. Like he's going to do whatever he needs to do to have that team humming at absolutely peak levels. So it's going to be fascinating to see that play out, and of course we'll have you covered. But more importantly, Armando Velez at Locked On Florida Panthers will have you covered as well. So make sure to stay tuned so you don't miss out on any new episodes from Locked On Florida Panthers as well. The Ottawa Senators had themselves a nifty little matchup against the Detroit Red Wings. We'll dive into that game here coming up as we take a look at the Sens, their position in the postseason, and how they were able to get themselves a nifty little goalie performance. That is coming up as we continue today's episode of Locked On NHL after this. Today's episode of Locked On NHL is brought to you by Factor Meals. Looking to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor makes eating well easy with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that are fresh, never frozen, and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences every week, you can customize your meals to fit your lifestyle. Whether it's calorie smart, protein plus, or keto, Plus Factor even offers wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, and grab-and-go snacks to keep you fueled all day long. Those breakfast smoothies are outrageous. And so as somebody who is now a get-up-and-go early morning, early riser, there's nothing better than having your breakfast already prepared so you can just get up and head out the door and not have to worry about firing up a bagel or pouring yourself a bowl of cereal. You've got your breakfast ready to go with Factor meals. And those meals, as I said, it's 2 minutes. That's all it takes. And your delicious dinner is ready, or your lunch, whichever meal you want to eat them for. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 off and use code LockedOnNHL50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code LockedOnNHL50 off at factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Get your Factor meals started today. Welcome back to today's episode of Locked On NHL. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day. Seth and JD diving into the 2-1 win for the Ottawa Senators now over the Detroit Red Wings. And this was a real test of mettle for the Ottawa Senators, a Detroit Red Wings team that has been playing substantially better hockey as of late since Todd McClellan took over. They kind of have righted the ship. And this was a perfect potential preview for postseason hockey for the Ottawa Senators, and a team that has been starved for postseason play. They passed with flying colors in this game.
Yeah, this game was very interesting, especially for I know the Red Wings have kind of righted the ship, but they've lost 6 games in a row, and this felt very much like a must-win game for the Red Wings if they wanted to try to hang on to their playoff hopes here. The Red Wings dominated the shot attempts, shots. They had 49 shots on goal in this game. 1 goal. Ullmark was absolutely outstanding in his performance in this game, and it did feel very much, I always joke on Locked On Sharks, the cat hanging on the string, in the third period for the Senators. They did get a late power play goal that put them over the edge, but it felt like Ullmark stole this game for the Sens, and the ending of this game was absolutely bananas. The Red Wings get a offensive zone draw with 2.5 seconds left, get a goal right after the time expires, literally 0.5 seconds after the time expires. It crosses the line. Ullmark he didn't have to save that one. No need to save that goal there because the time had already expired, right? But this was, though, you wonder if this might have been that last gasp for the Red Wings, who are now, again, losing 6 in a row. They felt like they were in command of one of these playoff spots, starting to slip out here. And for the Sens, like, if Ullmark can play like this every night, like, this team is going to make it to the playoffs. But you do wonder if the offense is going to be enough, right? I know they went out, they traded for Dylan Cousins, who got a goal tonight. You got Fabian Zetterlund, who's a 20-goal scorer. Like, can these guys get up to speed quick enough to try to help this team get some offense? Because if you are playing the Panthers or whomever you're playing in the first round, you're going to have to be able to score more than 2 goals. You can't give up 50 shots on goal a night to win.
Yeah, and the Senators right now, they would, as we mentioned, they'd be lined up to play the Florida Panthers. But if they fall into wild card 2, then you got the Capitals right off the bat. And that juggernaut of a team with Alex Ovechkin scoring literally every night. Yeah. So good luck.
I mean, it's like, both those offenses are ridiculous. I mean, the Capitals have scored 232 goals in 64 games. The Panthers have scored 213 goals. It's not like you're getting some break if you play the Panthers there. Like, your offense between those two games, like, you're going to have to score goals. And I do worry. That is my worry about with the Sens. Like, as great of a story, can they manufacture enough goals, especially if it's not Stützle, if it's not Tkachuk, if it's not one of those top guys? Can you get some goal scoring elsewhere? Because that's how teams win the playoffs, right? Is who else can score for you? And I do worry about that.
Well, and it'll be interesting. You mentioned Dylan Cousins, and I think he's kind of the wild card in this. He came in, and I saw Locked On Senators tweeting about this. In his first game, he equaled the number of 5-on-5 points that Josh Norris had in a considerable amount of time. So you're looking at getting an upgrade on a guy who I think kind of got burnt out in Buffalo. And Can you inject some new life into him? And can he be kind of that missing piece for this offense to be able to step in and not have to be like, second fiddle or third fiddle, but, fourth and fifth fiddle in a scoring perspective? That's still very valuable too. You need those guys to be able to consistently give you goals. And if he can step in and give them consistent production down the stretch into the postseason, that's going to make them a very, very good team.
So with the Red Wings, though, I mean, like, this team now, they're tied with the Bruins, who just basically sold everyone off, right? And they're tied with the Canadiens, who, still in the mix, as our friends at Locked On Canadians like to say, officially in the mix. They're 2 points behind the Rangers right now, again, who has sold off a bunch of people. And then they're 4 points behind the Blue Jackets, who are currently in the second wildcard spot. But the Blue Jackets do have a game in hand. Like, it feels like it just might be too many teams for the Red Wings to try to jump at this point. And credit to, I mean, they threw everything but the kitchen sink at the Sens tonight and just couldn't get that second goal.
Yeah. It's just it comes down to a goalie being able to step up and keep a team from getting in the net. And Linus Ullmark was masterful in the win. So that was exactly what the Senators needed, and they have been hoping to get this version of Ullmark back. I know he has missed time this year. They're hoping to get this version of Ullmark ready to rock for the postseason. So if he can perform like this, Senators could be a little bit of a dark horse team when we get to the postseason.
A little frisky.
You never know. Possibly frisky. That's one of my favorite terms. The NFL uses it to talk about contending teams. I'm borrowing it, and I'm going to adapt it and use it for the NHL as well. Senators could be a possibly frisky team as we move down the stretch, the final 18-ish games of the season. We'll wait and see. One other thing that we'll be keeping an eye on for the final stretch of the season, the Columbus Blue Jackets and the New Jersey Devils. Can the Blue Jackets vault New Jersey and get into the top 3 in the Metropolitan Division? We'll discuss as we finish today's episode of Locked On NHL after this.
Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I like the shelled version. I like cracking that open, hearing that sound. One's just plain salt. Perfect for me, but they have no shell variety. They have a ton of different flavors, each one of them having 9 essential amino acids. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Final segment of today's episode of Locked On NHL. Once again, we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day. Seth and JD finishing things out for today's Tuesday edition of the show. And we finished by discussing a team that continues to surprise. Although at this point, can you really call them a surprise? I mean, they have hung with it all season. The Columbus Blue Jackets, who are currently wild card number 2. They're just 4 points behind the New Jersey Devils with 2 games in hand. So the big question, who takes that 3rd spot in the Metropolitan Division by the time the season's done?
I'm going to go out on a limb. I think Columbus does it. I think they're able to catch him. And the big reason why, no Jack Hughes for the Devils. I know the Devils do have a lot of excellent players, but there's something divine or who knows, something with this Columbus team where I think it's just hard to deny what is going on with this team and why I think they can actually not just get a wild card spot, but get that 3rd spot. And especially having those 2 games in hand is huge. Looking at, I know, if you look at their strength of schedule, New Jersey technically does have a little bit easier strength of schedule. It's a 538 compared to Columbus, which actually is like a 565 strength of schedule left. Columbus is at 7th right now, but I don't know, man. I've watched a fair amount of Columbus this year. Adam Fantilli is making a huge leap. He had a hat trick against the Rangers in a game where you gave up 2 shorthanded goals in the same power play and you smoked the Rangers 7-3. There's just something about that. They're starting to get a little bit healthier now. I think they make a push for the 3rds. I think they actually do it. I'm worried about the Devils, especially without Hughes.
Yeah, and you look at the eye test too, and just looking even at some of these results, the Blue Jackets have been able to keep their losses at least competitive for the most part. I know they had a 6-2 loss to Tampa Bay recently, but beyond that, even when they lost 4 in a row, they lost 5-3, 3-2, 3-2, and 4-3. And you look at what the New Jersey Devils have done. They lost to the Jets 6-1. They lost to the Avalanche 5-1. Those legitimate contender type teams, they're just getting run off the ice in these games. And it's the old adage. I think of the Calgary Flames under Daryl Sutter in his final season, where it's that Calgary Flames team was finding ways to lose every game. And it just seems like the Devils are coming up on the wrong ends of a lot of these games. Whereas for Columbus, it seems like they have, whether it be luck, whether it be just sheer determination and will, it seems like they have found a way to at least put themselves in position to win a lot of these games. Some of them you will win, some of them you won't. But if you're at least close at the end of the day, you give yourselves a chance. And it feels like they're doing a way better job of that here lately than the Devils have been.
Guess who plays tonight, Tuesday night?
Uh-oh.
Blue Jackets, Devils. Yeah, I mean, this is will be interesting to see, especially like you said, right? The Devils they've been kind of against some of these teams. I think the Blue Jackets are going to be amped up for this game. I do think, and especially coming off that win against the Rangers. And again, I know the Rangers aren't what we thought they were going to, right? They are who they are. We thought they were, but I do think Columbus, like, this is a big game for Columbus, right? If you want to take it, not just a wildcard spot, right? Take a spot, that third spot, you have to come out and try and win this game here. And I think this is a massive, massive game. One of the biggest games, I think, for Columbus in years. It would
easily.
be this Devils game. If they can come out and they win this Devils game, book it. They're getting that third spot.
And it's, if from a Devils perspective, it's got to be frustrating too, because you just got Jacob Markstrom back. And you look at what he's done over the last few games. He's given up 12 goals in his last 3 starts. That's not great.
Not Markstrom.
Yeah,
that's not why you went out and traded
level.
For. Yeah.
So they need to get that shored up. But it just feels like Columbus at this point has a little bit of wind behind their sails, whereas it feels like the Devils are consistently trying to steer into the wind to try to navigate this final wild card spot.
And the thing with like the Blue Jackets, like this isn't like cheap goal. Like they're the 7th best offense in the league, right?
Yeah.
Like 3.33 goals for per game, but the power plays like bottom of the NHL. They're 19th right now in the power play. So this is all like 5-on-5 goals. This is even strength that they're doing this right now. So, and again, when you start, especially down the stretch here, right, things get a little bit tighter. You start to see more playoff type games. Yes, the power plays needs to operate. And I think hopefully now that they're starting to get a little bit healthier, that you might see that power play kind of take a little bit of a jump here. But if you can score like that at even strength and you're not getting just, a bajillion power play goals, like that goes a long way to kind of help dictate pace and kind of control the game. And again, I think for the Devils, not like just Hughes just being gone with like, there's no chance that he gets back this season unless they make like a really deep playoff run. I do think that's a huge loss. Like, and then, I mean, and between these two teams, which team do you think right now is just better equipped at handling losses, like just handling personnel losses? The team like Columbus, who's had to deal with it all season, right? You think of like, of course, Gaudreau, who, unfortunately with Gaudreau, Monahan, who missed a bunch of time. They lost their captain, Boone Jenner, before the season even started. Like this team just continues to find a way to chug along because of its young players. And yeah, I think Columbus does it, man. I think Columbus takes the third spot, especially if they beat the Devils tonight. So,
and we've talked about this too. It feels like they have a large portion of the league behind them, rooting for this to happen. Like there are, from time to time, there are these feel good stories in the NHL. A team that deals with just so much injury or what have you, that finds a way to persevere through it, to where you look and you're like, yeah, I'm going to be rooting for them to make a run and to go far in the postseason. It feels like Columbus has a lot of those eyes and ears on them, that as long as they are in the thick of it, that they're going to have plenty of people cheering them on to get as far as they can in the postseason.
Oh yeah, it was Nationwide Arena, I think is where they play. I forget where they play, but yeah, wherever they play, like that first playoff game is going to be absolutely, yeah,
it's going to be rocking, bumping, as the kids say.
Yeah.
Do the kids even say that? I don't know.
I don't know. Let's ask Cam Fowler. What does Cam Fowler say? Or beacon of lights.
Cam Fowler says it's time to wrap up the Tuesday edition, and we always listen to Cam Fowler. So appreciate everybody tuning in, as always, to yet another episode of the Locked On NHL podcast. Once again, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. You can find new episodes every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.